The worst that can happen is if you have to repackage or reformulate your product or even do a recall of products because you don't have considered GMP early enough. It's less expensive to do it right the first time than to try to fix problems later. You cannot afford to ignore GMP compliance. It's not just a checkbox, it's your ticket to market access, to consumer trust, and lasting success. So the idea is to section this video in two parts. The first part, if you are the one or your team doing the manufacturing part of your cosmetic product development. And the second section, if you are a cosmetic entrepreneur and you want to outsource this part. But even if you don't want to do it personally, knowing what are the requirements for GMP compliance will help you spot a trustworthy partner. It's an important step in your cosmetic development, and you don't want to choose the wrong manufacturing facility. So GMP stands for Good Manufacturing Practices. For the cosmetics, it's a set guidelines of rules and methods within the ISO 22716 and required by the European Regulation 1223/2009. It ensures that your product is consistently of high quality and safe enough for your consumers. But most importantly, GMP helps you to prevent contamination, mix-ups, costly recall or batch failures, and make scaling up much smoother. It can also provide competitive advantages depending on the type of manufacturer that you will use. I have another video about that. But most importantly, GMP compliance protects your reputation and the consumers. Without GMP, your product cannot be legally sold in many markets, including Europe. In the US, the FDA doesn't mandate specifically for your manufacturing process to comply with GMP regulations. However, they expect appropriate manufacturing controls. By the way, many retailers won't stock your product if you are not GMP compliant. If you are doing the manufacturing part of your cosmetic development, here what you need to focus on. First, personnel and training. Everyone involved in the manufacturing production must be properly trained and know what are their responsibilities. Hygiene practices, proper use of equipment, and quality control checks. Regular training and supervision are key. Your team should know how to avoid contamination and how to handle the equipment safely. Next, premises and equipment. The workspace must be clean, organized, and designed to minimize risks. Equipment such as mixer, scales, and containers should be suitable for cosmetics, regularly cleaned and calibrated. Now, regarding raw material and storage. I will advise to only source raw material ingredients from reputable suppliers. Label and organize all the raw materials with the name, the lot numbers, and the expiration dates for full traceability. Of course, store those raw materials in conditions that avoid spoilage or contamination. Think about the temperature, the humidity, the light sensitivity of the ingredients, sealed containers, and always clear labeling. Regarding production process and documentation, map out every step of the production process. Create standard operation procedures or SOPs for each activity, for maybe the mixing phase that you have, the filling phase, the labeling, the cleaning, or other steps. Keep detailed batch records. What went in, what out, who did what, when, and how. This is crucial for traceability, but also for troubleshooting. Regarding quality control and testing, once you have received the raw materials, test them. When you have produced samples during the manufacturing process, test them also. And of course, test your finished product to ensure that it meets your quality standards. Even if you are a small business, checking the pH, if there is any contamination, the appearance of the products are a must. And remember to keep samples from each batch and clearly label them, because in the future it may be useful if you have a product that have some issue to know from which batch they come from. Let's hope not, but if you have to deal with complaints before launching your product, you should put in place a system in order to handle these complaints. Whether it's about your product, its labeling, or adverse reaction that your consumers may deal with. If you have to deal with recalls, same, be ready with a recall plan, because you will need to act fast to pull the affected product from the market and notify all the consumers. One thing that can help you make sure that your manufacturing process are still impeccable is to regularly have internal audits. This will help you to spot weaknesses, ensure ongoing compliance, and continually improve. But most cosmetic entrepreneurs, and it may be your case, do not build a manufacturing facility in-house. In this case, you will have to look for a contract manufacturer, and here how the GMP compliance applies in this scenario. First, you will need to select a GMP compliant manufacturer. Ask for this ISO 22716 certification or something equivalent. equivalent. You can request to see their quality manual. If possible, let's make a tour of the facility. If you have a community of cosmetic brand owner, you can check references of manufacturers. And if you can, review their audit history. You can also ask if they work on a selection of product because maybe they cannot produce your specific product type. You can ask what type of quality control they are doing, how do they handle batch record and documentation, and what is their process for supplier qualification. And finally, how do they handle non-conformities or deviations. It can be scary to ask all those questions, but some of the information that they will provide you by answering to those questions, you will need to put them in your PIF. And remember that even if you are working with a manufacturer, you are still responsible regarding providing clear specification regarding your product and your intentions, approving the raw material sources, reviewing the batch records, maintaining the product documentation, and put in place a post-market surveillance plan. Yes, the manufacturer is your partner in compliance, but ultimate responsibility of a product always remains with you as the brand owner. Documentation is the backbone of GMP compliance. If it's not documented, it did not happen. So the essential document that you need to create are the product specification with everything about the formula with the exact percentages, the physical and chemical specifications, the microbial limits, and so on. Another document is the standard operation procedures file. Even if you are a small brand, you need an SOP because it will gather all the information regarding the processes that have been put in place to develop your product. Be prepared and have a batch manufacturing record. With the batch identification, the component used, the equipment used, and so on. Have a testing record, right? To write every result that you have from the different tests that you will need to perform, the challenge test, the stability testing, the physical and chemical testing, and so on. And finally, have a traceability system. Here's a tip. Start creating these documents during the development, not after. You can use simple templates to make this manageable. I have worked on an SOP simple tool that can help you. I will make it soon available, and it is complementary to the PIF checklist package that I have already created and that is already available on my website, cosmeticlabs.com. GMP compliance for our manufacturer is a non-negotiable, but do you know that there is different type of manufacturers? Do you know the difference between a contract manufacturer and a private label manufacturer, or maybe a semi-custom manufacturer? If budget restriction and fast launch is in your mind, watch this video to know which type you should work with.